Case Log 101. I have entered the home of Broll the Scholar, who many of the Forgotten City's residents have suggested may know something about what's going on down here. I will now commence my interrogation. Hello.
Hello, neighbour. I understand we have you to thank for dispensing with some would-be looters. So, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's very kind of you to stand on a chair for me to praise me. That's rather exciting. Oh, don't leave. Hello.
Hello, neighbour. Would you like to hear about my research?
Yes, I'd like to hear about everything, really. What's your story?
My story? What a strange question. You presuppose that my life is a simple linear sequence of events which can be summed up in a verbal narrative? Well, that's nonsense, of course. First, most of it was so long ago I barely remember. Second, you would have to assume that the account I give you is biased heavily in my favor, and is therefore quite unreliable. And finally, my story is really much less interesting than this mysterious place. Now, do you have any sensible questions, or can I get back to work?
I just wanted to know what you do and where you're from.
Well, why didn't you say so? I researched Dwarven history and technology, and I'm originally from Kragenmoor in Morrowind. Any other questions?
Marvellous. Do you by any chance know a way out of here?
Now that's an interesting question. I personally don't know any way out, no. However, I have a theory. It's more of a hypothesis, really.
Oh?
My thinking is that if there was a way out of here, the dwarves who built this place must have known about it.
But the dwarves disappeared ages ago.
True, but we can learn all sorts of things about them from what they left behind. Inscriptions, architecture, relics, statues. And while I've discovered many things here, there are some parts of the city I haven't been able to get to. I'm most interested in the palace, above the lake. Unfortunately, it's sealed up tight. Only one man ever managed to enter, and he never came out. That was Narnabas, and we haven't heard from him in years. Strange fellow. I believe he was looking for the secrets of the dwarves too. If you could find a way in there, I'm sure it would tell us a great deal about this place. Who knows what secrets we could uncover.
Wonderful. Well, that's definitely something to look into. So what do you know about the big glowing orb above us?
That is the sun under the ground. Or at least that's how it's referred to in the Dwarven text we've managed to translate. I must confess, I haven't the faintest idea of how it works. But it seems to be giving us light and allowing us to grow crops, even under the ground. Of course, if it ever stops glowing, for whatever reason, we'll all be in quite a lot of trouble. But don't concern yourself with such dark thoughts.
Right.
I'm sure we have nothing to worry about.
Yes, that seems very convincing. So what can you tell me about the laws here?
Well, the dwarves who built this city left inscriptions in the citadel, which translate to, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one." My research leads me to believe that if a single member of our community sins, it'll trigger an event, killing us all. I believe such an event occurred some years ago, which is why Metellus found the city littered with burned corpses. But to this day, there are many questions we simply don't have answers for. How is the dwarf's law still being enforced? How does it work? And we may never know, as long as nobody attacks or steals from anybody else. Until we know more, we all need to be on our best behavior.
Sounds like a plan. This might seem like a bit of a peculiar question, but do you happen to know anything about time travel?
Time travel? You know, as it happens, I do. It was a great obsession of mine for years after my wife passed. I thought if I could go back, I gave up on that idea a long time ago. But recently the Jarl has asked to see my research notes. How strange that you should now take an interest too. Can I ask what the nature of your interest is in this unusual subject?
I've actually travelled here from the future, and I'd quite like to go back if that's at all possible.
I don't quite know what to say to that. How can I put this charitably? Perhaps you're tired and emotional, and need some rest. But I always enjoy discussing my theories with a receptive mind.
So do I.
So I'll humor you. What did you want to ask?
If you travelled to the past, how exactly would you go about returning to the present?
For argument's sake, if you found yourself in that position, you'd have only two options. To live out your days in the past, or force a paradox. A paradox, you see, would involve changing the past so as to prevent the events which caused you to travel back in time in the first place. But you'd be taking a big risk by doing that. Who knows what the consequences would be? Some say that whatever you do, it will lead you right back to the future that took you back in time in the first place. An eternal loop, if you will. But me, I believe that creating a paradox should fling you back to your original time, having changed the past for you and everyone else.
Well, that would be rather handy. How would I go about creating a paradox?
Well, let's say for argument's sake that you really have traveled here from the future. You could create a paradox in a few different ways. Essentially, you could do anything that would remove your means or motivation to return to the past. For example, you came here to achieve some goal. Achieving that goal would mean you will never have been motivated to come here. A paradox. Or, if the thing that allowed you to travel back in time is still here, as a past version of itself, you could simply destroy it, I suppose. That would mean, of course, that you will never have been able to travel back in time. Another paradox. But doing so could have terrible consequences. But if you really are from the future, as unlikely as that is, telling me or anybody else what happens next could have disastrous consequences too. I think it's best if we talk about something else.
Well, thank you, Broll. That really was rather useful. It's most refreshing to talk to a fellow scholar. I'd best be going now.
Very well. Come back if you think of any questions about something you discover.
Will do. Well, that was rather interesting. Looks like I've got a couple of good leads to investigate. But I'd best start on that in the morning because I'm getting rather tired. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Jarl Metellus did mention there was a spare room I could use. And I believe that could be this one here. Should we have a look? Lovely, this'll be nice and cozy. Shame about the slightly ominous green drip. But there we are. Right. Bed. Stone bed. Lovely, very comfortable. Good night. What in oblivion is he doing? He's gone back into the past for some ridiculous reason or other. Lucien, for the divine sake, get back to the present and get back on track. Lucien! Lucien! Oh, what? Another one of those bizarre dreams. That was definitely a voice, but what on earth was it going on about? Most peculiar. Oh well, perhaps I'll have to see someone about that sometime. Anyway, breakfast, what have I got? Beginning to run a little bit low. Still some salmon, that'd be very nice. Perhaps some hawker stew? Marvellous, that ought to get me going. Do need to sort out filling up my water skins somewhere down here. Let's see about that. Now, I expect the best place to fill my water skins would be down at the lake, so I'll head over there. This possibly isn't the best route, but there we go. I have to say, this tree looks much lovelier without a noose hanging from it. Now, down here. Oh, look! A fishing boat. Are there fish in this lake? There's one. How remarkable. Right, I'll just wade in here. There we are. Lovely. Much better. Right, now we are all set for our investigations. So we have two possible leads. The first is to get into the sealed palace, which I think could be that building over there. Certainly said it was above, So that's definitely worth investigating. And the other thing was to see if we could find this Quintus fellow who was mentioned in that assassin's note. Because if there's anyone who's a suspect for potentially causing crime, it's a member of the Dark Brotherhood. So I'll start by going to see if I can find a way into that palace. Good morning.
Miranda told me you cut down those looters before they breached the city gates. Well done, my friend. Well done.
Oh, it was no problem. No problem at all. Let's see. It looks like we can get up around there. So I'll be sure to do that. Sort of back the way I came, really. I'm not really very used to navigating my way around here. Can I just scramble up there? There we go. Wonderful. Saved a little bit of time. Hello, my friend.
What do you want?
Nothing, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Another one of these chappies. Right. This looks like it could be an entrance. Can I get in? Curious. Look at this architecture with all these blocks. Are they chests or coffins? All these coffins. Bizarre. I wonder if these are the previous residents of this place. Shan't be rummaging through those. Yes, there's a body there. Some interesting gloves. And yes, very much sealed, isn't it? No way through that I can see. Although, it's possible there's a way over the top? Can we climb up these? Yep. Oh. Right, come on. Oh gosh, I'm falling off. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Right. Okay, that one didn't work very well. If we can get over the top onto that pipe. Should I try again? Yeah. Yes, right, I'm up. Alright, and again. Yes. And again. Progress. Now, if I can get over onto that side, maybe on this light fixture. Oh, nearly. Yes! I'm up. Just... Yes! And again. Yes! Oh, so nearly there. Oh, right, come on. If I could just scramble up. Heave! Oh. Yes! Wonderful. This is how we do it. Marvelous. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm so good. Ah. Weird mask over here. Very Dwemer. Right, now how to safely get down? That's the question. Anything I can jump on? Oh, light fitting. If I can just hop. There we are. Wonderful. Don't suppose I can remove this from this side. No, that's very firmly sealed. I hope there's another way out. Nice gauntlets. I'll be taking those. Thank you. I wonder, is it worth trying to put them on? Yes. Marvelous. So sorry, my friend. Right. Best be a bit careful through here, I think. You never know what we'll find. Oh, it's spooky. It's very spooky. My word. Look at that. Oh, my word. Oh. Ah. Sorted. Scary. Oh, more of them. Ah. Stay back. Leave me alone. How many of these things are there? any more? For any more? I've got fire, and I'm not afraid to use it. No? Phew. Alright then. Let's see what we can find out about this place. Oh, look at that, a helmet. What's that doing there? Oh. No, a gate that's locked up nice and tight. I don't necessarily want to have a go at that just yet, if there's a possibility of there being a key. All of these coffins. And another body. Remarkable. Ah. Passage around. I say, is that a person? Hello? Hello? Who are you? Oh! My word! Oh, my word! Oh, my word! Ow! 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 Oh, stay back! Ow! Fire doesn't seem to be very effective, so let's try lightning. That was rather terrifying. Not keen on that. There's definitely something to explore down there. Let's see what else is in this hall. Any significance to the water, I wonder? It's rather dark. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to touch it, to be honest. Another stairway. Oh, a display case with some kind of knife in it. Perhaps this was a museum for the last lot of people who lived here. What's up here? Another one of these things. Right, sorry, friend. Oh, they seem completely immune to my shouts. Thankfully, they're slow. Thank heavens for small mercies. So we need to remember there was a down route we could have gone. We have to turn around. Worth exploring above as well. Another one. Nothing in these cases. Oh yes, there is. An arrow. It's like a weaponry museum. Right, I ought to sort out that chappie over there. Got him. And there's another one. He's got a friend. Come on. Yes. And you. Oh dear. Whew. Phew. Right, that's them sorted out. Hello, do you have anything? Nothing of special importance. Ugh, hate touching those. No, I'm not pulling that out of your head. More of these chaps inside. More burnt corpses. That looks like it's important. Ah! Wearing armor! Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, here we go. Well, that'll show you. Is that it? Phew. Right. I think I'll take this, if you don't mind, sir. I'm so sorry to strip you, but this does look of great academic interest. Thank you. Sorry right now. Carrying too much to be able to run. That's always a problem. What can I lose? What can I lose? What's heavy? What's heavy that I'm carrying without need? I mean, I quite like to keep all these various things. But I suppose I can lose these weapons. Because they're not that special, really, are they? Yes, those can go. Right. Now, what exactly is going on here? This is fascinating. Some sort of light. Ow! 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 What was that? That was distinctly painful. Whew. Right, I won't go too close to that then. There's that inscription again. What's that? Is it? Are those books? They look ruined. Some sort of energy source, I think. Remarkable. Anyway, I don't think there's anything else in this room of significance, but over here it does look like I might be able to find an artifact or two. So I'll just see. Yes, interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I've got a few interesting bits and pieces to look through back at the museum. This is definitely worth returning to. What on earth is it? Well then. What else can we find in this museum? I came this way, so I'll have a look around. Yeah, what's in here? Oh, more friends. Run, 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 run. One down. Oh my word. Where's he gone? Where are you? Oh, there. Phew. Right. What was in here? What was going on? They seem to have been sitting over by this fire. Why do burned creatures like that need fire? Who knows? Anyway, anything else in here? No, nothing really. Ooh, a book, but that's ruined. Poison might be worth having. A potion. Ooh. This looks like some kind of chapel. What were you reading? The Myth of the Dwarves' Law. By Duratas II. As per our custom, I will begin by paying my respects to the city's founders, the Dwemer. For their architecture and ingenuity, ubiquitous fonts of light and water, they deserve our admiration. But here, I must depart from our custom. For their attempts at lawmaking, oppressive and overreaching, they deserve our contempt. Who among us has not awoken at night in a cold sweat, fearing some sort of accidental transgression of the dwarves' law? All of us must accept, after even a moment's reflection on human nature, that we are all capable of error, whether from a momentary lapse in judgment brought on by ill temper, or a conscious decision based on faulty reason. But I am here today to tell you, friends and neighbours, that you need not be afraid, for the dwarves' law is a great deception and I will prove it to you. Let me begin by dismissing each of the counter-arguments you may raise. First, you may argue that the dwarven inscriptions around the city are evidence of the law. But that is logically unsound, for we cannot be completely confident that our translations are accurate, with all due respect to our scholars. We believe they say many will suffer for one's mistakes, but what shades of meaning are lost in translation? In any case, even if our translation is accurate, that this message was inscribed does not make it true. Second, you may argue that the dwarves would not have committed their warnings to stone if they were not true. To that, I say the dwarves' warning may well have been true thousands of years ago when they built this city. Presumably, there were those responsible for enforcing the law, who were vigilant and draconian in their pursuit of order. But the dwarves have long since disappeared. Surely for the laws to be enforced, there would need to be someone watching over us. I know many of you have felt as if you were being watched, as if these golden busts were somehow capable of seeing you. But ask yourself, even if these dwarven automatons were watching you, how could they play the role of judge? Surely no mere machine possesses the reason or the judgment necessary to enforce the laws of man. In short, without the instruments of justice, there can be no law. Third, you may argue that the tragedy that struck this city several years ago is evidence that the dwarves' law is real. You need not remind me of that. It was I who discovered their charred remains. It was I who collected them, placed them in a handcart, wheeled them into this palace, and laid them to rest in the tomb beneath us. I will not soon forget them. And yet I refuse to leap to the conclusion that their deaths were brought on by breaking the dwarves' law. There is simply no evidence to support that conclusion. Who is to say there was not simply an attack by some demented mage skilled in the art of destruction magic? But ultimately, these arguments are just that, arguments. After years of living in fear, there is only one way for me to prove to you that the dwarves' law is falsehood: action. Friends, I apologize in advance for this, but one day you will see this moment as a turning point in our people's history. Let us see once and for all if the dwarves' law is real, as I strike one of you with my fist. My word. And he was wrong. He was so wrong. Awful. But interesting though, it does rather prove that the dwarves' law is real. And that that's what happened here. So I really ought to go and show this to Brawl, I think. He'd certainly be interested. Can I get this door open? Oh, no, that's definitely rather fiddly. I don't want to waste all my lockpicks. I might need them sometime. No, I think I'll leave this. Whatever's behind there. Let's see if I can just burn those cobwebs. No, I can't. Hopefully it's not that important. Just have a swig of water? Right, so let's explore downstairs now. If we finished up here... Excuse me, sir. There's that passage into the beneath. Just have my lightning ready. When we first encountered one of these, it seems to be flooded. Hopefully it's safe. If I just put my foot in there, is that gonna hurt? I think I'm okay. More coffins. Look at all these bodies. This must be what that chap in the sort of chapel was talking about. So many. Oh my word! Whew. That was rather terrifying. They may have been laid to rest. Go! They're certainly all resting. Any more? Or is that it? Really know what I'm looking for down here. Is there anything of note? Just all these coffins. It's like a maze. A labyrinth of the dead and... oh, a spider. Ate someone. There's another one of these things. It'll come around this corner any second. I think. Will it? There we are! 2 of them! Boosh! There we go. Rather terrifying. I mean, I'm just assuming that there are bodies in all these coffins, I suppose. Ah, yes. No, definitely. Ah! Boosh! Oh dear, out of magicka. Can I get him with my bow? Phew. Right. What's that then? Be a bit careful now with so low magicka. Hello? Ah, the horror. I can just... oh! What's that? Blood? Oh dear. Oh goodness, it's so slow. Phew. Well, I think I've learned something from that encounter. Let's have a bit more magicka. Now, my destruction magic could definitely use improving. Yeah. That ought to help. I hope I'm getting somewhere. Nothing in there. Or am I just walking around in circles? I have no idea. Oh, we haven't been here before. The tome. Necromancy, I think this is some kind of necromantic altar. A journal. Maundas, 3rd of Half-Fire. Well, Thirth, but let's assume 3rd. Curse it! The logbook containing all my experiments from the last 3 years has gone up in smoke after one of my subjects, flailing about clumsily as they do, knocked it into the fire. All those years of meticulous, painstaking work for nothing. There is no way I'm going through that again. I'll need to try something more creative if I'm to get the dead to tell me the secrets of this place. Why did these people always die in waves, several years apart? Why were they always burnt to death? What was killing them? I'm going to try to amplify my resurrection spell by tapping the strange dwarven energy source directly upstairs. Perhaps that will loosen their tongues. Ah, so all these undead down here were the result of some depraved necromantic experiment. Well, I'll take these things. No sense in leaving them lying about for anyone to manipulate. So that does rather explain these monsters. Oh, and there's a chest down here. I wonder if I can pick the lock. Come on. There we are. Progress. Oh, nearly had it. Try again. Come on. Come on. Yes! Yeah. Only a few things, really. Honestly, not much worth taking, because it's only going to be heavy. Is there anything else I can lose? Don't need a ruined book, I suppose, or all these ingots, really. These can go, because I'm not going to do anything with these. Might keep the gold, though. And I'll hold on to the madness ore, because that looks rather interesting. Use the moonstone. Silver and more moonstone. Right. That's more like it. Well, I think we're done down here now. Time to head back. Can I jump over? Yes, there we go. This is the way out. Well, that was an adventure and a half. Certainly very exciting. And we've learned an awful lot. Now I think it's time to head back to the others and share what I've found out. They'll be awfully pleased.